It's ghoulish. That's the only word that can explain Prince Harry and Meghan Markle sharing a private picture of their so-called private children, Archie and Lily.
There is a lake in Northamptonshire. In the middle of that lake sits a small island. On that island rests the most visited, most written about, most fought over resting place in modern British history, the grave of Princess Diana. For 29 years, the man who controls access to that island has kept the world at arm's length with something far more powerful than a locked gate. He removed the bridge, he made the water the barrier, he made the mud the second line of defense, and he made his reasons absolutely clear in writing. The lake exists as a buffer, in his own words, against the interventions of the insane and the ghoulish. Last week, a camera crossed that water, and the man who owns it hasn't said a single word since. That silence, 6 days, 7 days, more, is what we are talking about today, because it is doing an enormous amount of work, and practically nobody is asking the question it demands. So we are going to ask it properly, and we are going to follow it wherever it goes. Stay with us, because by the end of this, you are going to have to choose between two versions of what happened, and only one of them is comfortable. The drop that stopped the room. On Wednesday, the 22nd of July, the Prince and Princess of Wales released a portrait of their eldest son to mark his 13th birthday. It was taken on the stairs at Kensington Palace, clean, dignified, perfectly composed. The kind of photograph that does exactly what it is meant to do, marks a milestone, says nothing it shouldn't, and closes the news cycle by tea time. 24 hours later, Meghan Markle opened Instagram. 11 photographs, posted from Montecito, and somewhere buried in the middle of them, almost as if placed there deliberately, framed to look incidental, a man and two very small children photographed from behind, walking a long avenue of trees. Harry holds a bouquet, so does the little boy. Their faces are never shown. The location is not stated. The caption says almost nothing. And within hours, the entire royal press corps had one question: where exactly was that taken? The answer, once it surfaced, was Althorp, the Spencer family estate in Northamptonshire, the private property where Princess Diana is buried on an island surrounded by a lake with no bridge. Let that settle for a moment, because here is what you need to understand before we go any further. Harry has been to that grave before. He knows the rules better than anyone alive. He put them in writing himself. In his own memoir, sold in 40 languages, he described how the bridge had been removed by his uncle specifically to give his mother privacy in death, to keep intruders out. He wrote it down, he published it, he sold it, and then he walked down that avenue with a camera in the party. So the question is not whether the photographs exist. We've all seen them. The question, the only question that matters, is this: who let them in? And who held the phone? The island nobody gets to reach. Before we go any further, you need to understand what Althorp actually is, and what Charles Spencer has done with it for nearly 3 decades. Because the version of him that's been floating around since this story broke, the dignified, grieving brother protecting his sister's eternal peace, is real. But it is not the whole picture. Charles Spencer has run that estate like a private fortress with a gift shop attached. His own words, more or less. He opened it to paying visitors in 1998, on Diana's birthday no less, at $15.75 a ticket. Elton John, one of Diana's closest friends, went for him publicly over it, called the whole business extremely tacky, right down to her name ending up on branded merchandise. Spencer pressed on. Tours have continued. The income from Diana's association with that estate has been substantial. When Netflix came to him about filming at Althorp for The Crown, he refused them outright and was reportedly contemptuous of the very question. He has said publicly that there have been 4 separate attempts over the years to access his sister's remains. 4. He saw off every single one of them. He is not soft. He is not sentimental. He is not naive about what people will do to get near her, which makes his silence right now so extraordinary. Because this man, this particular man, has never once been short of a statement when someone crossed a line involving Diana. So why, when 11 photographs showing his nephew's visit to his sister's graveside landed on the most public platform on the internet, did Charles Spencer say nothing? Not on Thursday when the pictures dropped. Nothing on Friday when half the world was reacting. Nothing through the weekend. Nothing in the days that followed. The only thing sitting on his own social media accounts during that entire stretch was a black and white photograph of two children on a swing in 1966 and a pony called Teddy Tar from 1972. Right. So we need to think about what that silence means, and we need to think about it very carefully. Two questions, one answer buried in the middle. Here is the thing that has been rattling around and that almost nobody has wanted to say clearly. There are only two possible versions of what happened at Althorpe. Version 1. Charles Spencer said yes, he knew Harry and Meghan were coming. He invited them or agreed to the visit, or at the very minimum was told in advance. He had the chance to say no cameras. He may well have said exactly that. No camera crews, no press, no setup shots, but he failed to account for a phone in somebody's back pocket. The visit happened, the photographs were taken, and when Meghan posted them, he was left holding a situation he did not bargain for and cannot now walk back without accepting a portion of the outcome. Version 2. Charles Spencer said no, he was not consulted. He did not know. He found out on Thursday, same as the rest of us, when 11 photographs from his private estate landed on a public Instagram account with a combined following in the tens of millions. And he has been too well-bred, or too furious, or too calculating about what comes next to say so in public. Now ask yourself this, which version makes him angrier? If he said yes and lost control of it, he looks foolish, and he is at least partly responsible for the outcome. If he said no and was walked straight past, if someone crossed that water without his blessing and turned his sister's resting place into content, then the fury is of a completely different order. And it explains a silence that looks less like dignity and more like a man deciding very carefully what he does next. We do not know which version is true. Nobody has confirmed it. But here is what we do know. Somebody had to carry a camera across that water. No photographer has been named. No member of staff has spoken. No Spencer has confirmed anything. Not one outlet across 6 days of saturation coverage has been able to put a name to who held that phone.
How is that possible?
In 2025, with that level of press interest, with that level of public attention, in a world where somebody always talks, how has that name not surfaced? That silence has a shape, and its shape looks deliberate. What Harry knew and did anyway. Now let's talk about Harry, because the coverage has been remarkably gentle with him, and the gentleness is worth examining. Every piece of criticism fired this week has landed on Meghan. She posted it. She chose the images. She cropped them. She captioned them. She controlled the release. All of that is true, every word of it. But it is also extremely convenient for a 41-year-old man who was standing on that path, holding armfuls of lilies, on ground he himself described in print as sacred. Harry was not a passenger. He was not ambushed. He made a choice to walk that avenue. He made a choice to bring flowers. He was there, in the photograph, holding those flowers, and he knows better than any living person what the agreement around that island has always been. Go back to 2017. On what would have been Diana's 56th birthday, a small service was held at that graveside to rededicate it. William attended. Catherine attended. Harry was there. 2 of the Wales children were present. The Archbishop of Canterbury conducted the ceremony. Not one photograph from that day was ever released, not a single frame. It was arranged to be private. It stayed private, and no one needed that explained to them. Harry stood on that exact ground 8 years ago, under an agreement every single person honored. He knew what that agreement looked like. He knew what keeping it required. And then, this summer, he walked that same path with a camera in the party. He is nobody's hostage. He is nobody's passenger. And the fact that his wife posted the results is not the same thing as saying he had no part in the decision. The curiosity gap and the 6-figure photo. Here is a number you need to hold in your head. In the week before any of this happened, a senior royal correspondent, one of Fleet Street's most experienced hands, was asked what a photograph of Meghan Markle and her children back on British soil would fetch on the open market. He did not pause. 6 figures, straight out, no hesitation. Think about that for a second. A single photograph, a candid, a long lens, a frame grabbed at an airport or on a motorway, would have been worth over £100,000 to any outlet that got it. When Fergie was photographed in the south of France in 1992, that set of pictures sold for £1 million. That was the benchmark he reached for. That is the world these photographs exist in. Now watch what happened. The British press got nothing from the entire trip. No airport shots, nothing off the motorway, not one long lens over a hedge, not a single grainy frame of Meghan, the children, or the car that carried them to see the king. The whole operation was described, even by the tabloids, as having been done properly. The red tops admitted it, for once, so privacy was clearly available to this family. It was achievable, it was delivered, and it stayed delivered, right up until Meghan opened Instagram and gave the lot away for free. Nobody hands a six-figure asset to the general public out of pure generosity. You do it when the picture buys you something money cannot. You do it when the value was never the fee, it was the message. And this is where we need to talk about what Meghan is actually doing with those photographs. Because it is not what most people are saying. Meghan did not show the children's faces. She showed their backs, their profiles, portions of them, half frames. And there is a school of thought among people who actually study brand marketing that this is deliberate. It is what marketers call a curiosity gap. You show enough to confirm they exist, enough to prove they were there, enough to make the image valuable, while withholding just enough to keep people looking, keep people clicking, keep people talking, which is exactly what we are all doing right now. Diana's method, not Diana's rules. Here is the sharpest thing anyone has said about this entire situation, and it came not from a royal commentator, but from a simple, brutal observation about what Meghan is actually doing and where she learned it. She did not break Diana's rules. She used Diana's method. Think about that for a moment, because everyone this week has been insisting that Diana would have been appalled, that the gravesite is sacred, that the photographs would have offended her. And those people, perfectly intelligent people, saying it with straight faces, are forgetting something fundamental about who Diana actually was. Diana sat down with Andrew Morton through an intermediary and gave her entire marriage to a book. She agreed to an interview with Panorama that brought the roof down on the institution. She understood the camera better than any person who has ever worn that title. She used it as a weapon against a family that had frozen her out. She knew exactly what a strategically released photograph could do, how much oxygen it could take out of a room, how many news cycles it could own, whose voice it could drown out. The controlled release, the frame that looks accidental and is nothing of the kind, the pictures that say exactly what you want them to say with your own mouth shut, the entire machinery of the image placed in service of a message you never have to state out loud. That is not a Montecito invention. It was invented in Kensington Palace in 1992 by a woman who had run out of other options, and it worked so well that 34 years later, her son's wife is still running the same play. And if you want to understand why the Prince of Wales is reportedly so quietly furious about photographs he has never once commented on in public, I don't think it is really about the lake. I don't think it is about the hedge, or the flowers, or the logistics of who got across the water. I think it is about watching his mother's voice get picked up and pointed back at him by the woman who married his brother. He grew up inside the wreckage of exactly that technique. He watched what it cost, firsthand, at 12 years old. He has spent his entire adult life making the deliberate opposite choice, at real personal expense, and now he has a front row seat to it happening again. Call that a taste dispute if you like. It looks, from where I am standing, like something considerably more specific than that. The timing is not coincidental. We need to stop and look at the dates, because once you put them side by side, you cannot unsee them. Wednesday, the 22nd of July, the Prince and Princess of Wales release a portrait of Prince George for his 13th birthday, taken at Kensington Palace. Warm, milestone, received brilliantly. By Wednesday evening, the conversation across every royal platform was about George's future, his resemblance to his father, his place in the line of succession. Thursday, the 23rd of July, 11 photographs go live on Meghan's Instagram. One day. That is the entire gap. One day between a birthday portrait of the heir to the throne's eldest son and a curated content drop from Montecito that immediately consumed every available conversation about the royal family. Now, you tell me, do you believe that timing was accidental? Everyone has insisted the drop was tied to a product launch, that there is honey or wine or some other American Riviera orchard item somewhere in the picture. The lavender honey had gone on sale 3 weeks earlier and was already off the news agenda. It was not a shop launch. so it points at something else, and what it points at is the birthday. Draw your own conclusion on that one, but draw it clearly. What Charles Spencer is not saying, and why it matters. Let us return to Althorp. Let us return to the silence, because there is a final piece of this that changes the entire picture, and it has been sitting in the background for over a year before any of these photographs existed. A program is reportedly planned for 2026, 30 years after Diana's death. A documentary focused on the final chapter of her life. A royal biographer with a reliable track record has said flatly that the photographs from the grave visit were taken with that project in mind, that the real purpose of the trip, or at least one of its purposes, was to capture footage, content, material, for something that has yet to be announced. Netflix, it is widely speculated, will be involved. Harry and Meghan, it is assumed, will be the primary voices. And William, who has absolutely no say in a documentary about his own mother, unless it is made through official channels, will find out about it the same way the rest of us will, through a press release. That is not a conspiracy theory, that is a pattern. Books, documentaries, courtrooms, a Netflix series, a memoir. This family has been here before, and they have watched it play out, and they know exactly how it ends. Now put that alongside Charles Spencer's silence, and ask yourself whether the silence starts to look different. Is he quiet because he is furious? Or is he quiet because he has not yet decided what he wants from whatever comes next? Is his silence the silence of a man betrayed, or the silence of a man still negotiating? Because here is the thing about Charles Spencer, that the fortnight of coverage has quietly let him become a bystander, a guardian, a dignified mourning brother, standing at the edge of his lake, powerless against the intrusion. He is nothing of the sort. He has run that estate, that legacy, and that access to Diana's memory for 29 years. He has made the choices about who gets in and who does not. He has extracted considerable value from his sister's name and her place of rest, and he has done it largely without criticism. He is not naive about how this works. He never has been. So when Charles Spencer goes silent for 6 days, while the world asks questions, he could answer in 8 words, "They were my guests, and I was glad." You are entitled to wonder what those 8 words would cost him. The one question nobody has answered. I want to come back to the most basic, most straightforward, most stubbornly unanswered question at the center of all of this. Who held the phone? Not who posted the pictures. We know that. Not who chose the images or wrote the caption. We know that too. Who physically carried a camera across that water, walked that avenue, stood behind that family, and pressed the button? No photographer has been named. No friend has been identified. No member of staff has spoken. No Spencer has confirmed or denied anything. Not one outlet across 6 days, with the full resources of Fleet Street and the international royal press behind them, has put a name to the person who held that phone. Think about what that requires. In today's world, at that level of scrutiny, with that level of public interest, the name of the person who took those photographs should have been in print within 48 hours. Someone always talks. Someone always knows someone. A member of staff, a security detail, a driver, a boat operator. Someone got across that water. Someone knows who, and yet nothing. That kind of silence does not happen by accident. It is managed, it is deliberate, and it is, by itself, a story. What happens next? Here is where we land. There are exactly 2 versions of what happened at Althorp. In one, Charles Spencer said yes. He invited them, or approved the visit, or was at minimum aware, and the photographs represent a situation he cannot now correct without admitting his own role in creating it. In the other, he said no, or said nothing, and found out on Thursday with the rest of the world. And he is currently deciding, very carefully, what he does about it and when. If the first version is true, his silence is the silence of a man protecting himself. If the second version is true, his silence is the silence of a man protecting himself. Of a man who is either too angry or too strategic to show his hand. Neither version reflects particularly well on anyone involved, but one of them has far graver implications for Harry, who knew what those photographs meant, who knew what that island represented, and who walked that path anyway. William has never commented. He will almost certainly never comment. That restraint after everything is itself a statement. He spent 5 years arguing that other people made a living from his mother. books, documentaries, courtrooms, a Netflix series, a memoir. The entire grievance has always rested on the idea that people took her and sold her. And now he stands at the other side of the water, watching it happen again, watching it happen from inside the family. And he does not say a single word, because what is there to say? The photograph exists. It is public. It has been seen by millions of people. The moment is gone. The only thing left is the question of who held the phone and why no one has answered it before you go. So here is what I want you to do. Not subscribe, not yet. Think first. Think about a woman who has claimed for years that all she wants for her family is privacy. Think about an island that a grieving brother deliberately made unreachable. Think about a man who walks that avenue with flowers in his arms and a camera somewhere in the party, and who once put the rules of that place into a book he sold in 40 languages. Think about 8 words that would collapse this entire story before lunchtime. They were my guests, and I was glad. And think about why, after all this time, those 8 words have not been spoken. Charles Spencer has said nothing. The press has found no one. The name of the person who held that phone remains a blank space at the center of one of the most covered royal stories of the year. Stories like this do not stay blank forever. Names come out. They always do. And when this one does, when we find out who crossed that water and who knew about it and when, we are going to have a very different conversation about what this summer actually was. So tell me where you stand. Do you think Charles Spencer knew in advance and consented? Or do you think he found out the same day as the rest of us and has been sitting on his fury ever since? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and if you want to be here when that name surfaces, and it will, hit subscribe, because this story is not finished, not by a long way.